Schisms. Schisms by definition are the split between two opposing parties. We usually see schisms between religious factions or even politics. But what causes people to separate? In order to find out, let's dive into one of the best portraits of human nature, Crime and Punishment. In Crime and Punishment, there are four major characters that each have their own unique schisms. There's Svidrigailov, Dunya, Sonia, and Marmeladov. First, let's start with Svidrigailov. Svidrigailov has been known as a foil to Raskolnikov since they share similar characteristics. Svidrigailov even himself said in Chapter 4, "Didn't I say that there was something in common between us? Wasn't I right in saying that we were birds of a feather?" referring to himself and Raskolnikov's actions. My Gale article also explained that Svidrigailov is supposed to be the embodiment of Raskolnikov's destructiveness and yearning for power. However, there is some passion within his evil soul. This is where his schism comes into play. His good side, the one with flares of passion, has charity. "I will put those two little ones and Polenka into some good orphan asylum, and I will settle 1,500 rubles to be paid to each on coming of age, so that Sofia Semyonovna need have no anxiety about them." And Svidrigailov is obviously referring to the Marmeladov family and their poverty. The bad side, the one with extreme wickedness, showed unfaithfulness to his wife, he slept with his servants, attempted to rape Dunya, and was a child molester. Now, on to our next character, Sonia Marmeladov. Sonia, as a character, represents Raskolnikov's capacity for good and is a very true and pure spirit. In one of my Gale articles, she has been seen as self-sacrificing and unselfish, willing to do anything for her family's sake. Sonia's main trait, however, is a representation as a Christ figure. She is the source to Raskolnikov's redemption and is meant to save him through his sins. When Sonia was reciting the Bible to Raskolnikov, she recited, "Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, 'Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me.'" Jesus is supposed to symbolize Raskolnikov, and Father, or God, is supposed to symbolize Sonia, and Sonia is Raskolnikov's redemption, or savior. But wait, she's a prostitute? And a Christ figure? How is that even possible? This is what makes Sonia's schism so interesting. While symbolizing the Catholic faith and being an innocent young woman, she lives her life as a prostitute, which is extremely frowned upon by the church and basically anyone. But she earns some redemption due to the fact that it's doing it to support her family, showing her extreme sacrifice. Let's look at the complete opposite of Sonia, her father, Semyon Marmeladov. Marmeladov is an out-of-control alcoholic and is the cause of the Marmeladov family's despair. Their poverty is a symbol of how alcohol can destroy a family's life, which Dostoevsky found horrific during his older life. Marmeladov has been interpreted as yet another double of Raskolnikov, reflecting the isolation, thwarted ambition, and feeling of debasement that typify Raskolnikov. Marmeladov has inflicted pain and suffering upon his family, taking the money that Sonia makes from prostitution to buy more alcohol. He even says in Chapter 1, "And here, I, her own father, here I took 30 kopecks of that money for a drink, and I am drinking it, and I have already drunk it." Marmeladov's schism is the fact that he is stuck in a vicious cycle of drinking, yet he does nothing to support his family even though he loves them. He even said himself, Granted, I am a scoundrel, but she is a woman of noble heart, full of sentiments, refined by education," obviously referring to his wife, Katerina Ivanovna. Being an alcoholic, he cannot accept the responsibility of having a family and being able to support that family. He drinks to avoid his physical suffering, then pushes his family further into poverty, only to wallow in his own drink and pain. Now let's analyze one of the strongest female characters ever, Dunya, or Raskolnikov's sister. She's basically Raskolnikov's opposite, and once again, she's one of the strongest characters in Crime and Punishment. She is extremely selfless and kind towards others, especially her family, and she is considered an absolute hero. But what is Dunya's true schism? There isn't a lot of analysis on this, but what I can infer is that her decision-making is extremely weak, despite her being so mentally strong. In her encounter with Svidrigailov, she had almost every opportunity to try and take a shot at him, but she didn't. She's too worried about the decisions that would help her family, rather than what decisions would actually help her. Now that we've analyzed all the characters and unique schisms, we need to get back to the original question, why do humans divide and why do we have unique schisms? The conclusion that can be made is that humans have a natural desire for power over others in order to fulfill their own selfish needs. This instinct of power is especially evident in Svidrigailov because he needs to assert his dominance over others to fulfill his end goals. Sonia is definitely not a selfish character, but her version of power is taking control of the Marmeladov family, going over her own needs in order to get them out of poverty. Marmeladov receives power or feels power when he drinks, so that he is able to get over his pain and suffering and forget about his life and his despairs. Dunya gets her power through supporting her family, especially Raskolnikov, but she's so strong an individual, she forgets about herself and her own needs, so that she is able to help Raskolnikov out. In the end, power is corrupt, and no matter whether you use that power for good or for bad, it will always lead to a division or a schism. And this has been the schismatic nature of humanity based on Crime and Punishment. Thanks for watching.